But what happens is, in Cairn, you don't make attack rolls, you just take damage, and you would use your hit protection to see how much of the damage you soak. Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave.
And I'm Nerdarchy Ted. I know this might be a bit of a shock to some of you folks out there, but yes, Nerdarchy does play other TTRPGs other than D&D. So today we're going to talk about Cairn, and you can check out this video, Nerdarchy Plays Other TTRPGs. Alright, so Dave, big question. What is Cairn?
Cairn is another role-playing game. It's very rules-light. Great for survivalist type games. It's a D20 roll under. There's only 3 stats, but there is so much more to Cairn. Folks should go find it and check it out.
So we have Cairn here, and as you can kind of loosely see, it's a small little book here. It's only 18 pages, and it's written by Yokai Gal. It's a lot of fun from what I hear. Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
All right, so I guess we'll talk about the game we played, but first let's just go run through the numbers. It uses your standard polyhedral dice. So if you've already playing D&D and using those dice, you already have the dice you need. I guess one of the big things that makes Cairn really easy is there's only 3 stats: strength, dex, and will. You're going to roll 3 die 6, and you're going to come up with those stats. And whenever you need to use one of those stats, you roll a d20, and you need to get under that number.
That seems pretty straightforward.
So it takes a bit of getting used to if you're used to playing like traditional d20 games.
I know that there was a story where your wife, my sister, wound up playing, and she rolled a natural 1. She's like, "Oh, I guess I failed," and they're like, "Nah, you won. You did it."
Yeah, you literally won and won.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So there's some other fun facts about this game. There is deprived, fatigue, and those tied to like your equipment slots, because you have equipment slots in this game. You also have hit protection and armor in this game. I'll run through some of those real quick. So hit protection is basically, it's kind of like your, it's not really your hit points, and I kept like referring to it as my HP. But what happens is, in Cairn, you don't make attack rolls, you just take damage, and you would use your hit protection to see how much of the damage you soak. So if you have a hit protection of 3, if you take 3 or less, you take no damage. Armor is one of the things that adds to your hit protection. I think there might be some other things that could give it to you as well. But what happens is, once you run out of hit protection, you become deprived, and then you start going into your stats, and your stats get lower, which makes it harder for you to do things. It's much harder to heal from that stat damage. Water and food in the game restores your hit protection much longer to restore your stats. Now, why this is important, fatigue is represented in your equipment slots. You only have so many, but once you gain a level of fatigue, you have to cross something off of your equipment, right? And this becomes really bad because of your equipment. Things you have to keep is food and water, and food and water are things that restore you from after you're getting fatigued and keep you from getting fatigued, right? And keep you out of the deprived state. And when you're deprived, also you get penalties to your rolls. So it becomes this really bad cycle and loop. So really, you want to avoid conflict in this game as best as possible, because if you don't, you can go into the death spiral. So that's going to be like a really cool for a very specific type of gameplay. When I used the Cairn system, we were playing in a world called Dim Sun, which is loosely based off Dark Sun. So very survivalistic.
Those equipment slots, really can majorly impact the gameplay, because if you get rid of the wrong thing, like your armor, which will lower your hit protection, or your water, therefore you're going to not be able to, keep hydrated and keep your health up. So that can seriously, make for a major problem in the game.
So another thing in the game is called impaired and enhanced, and basically I can step the die up and down that you're using. There is also like an advantage mechanic. So like if you're fighting with 2 weapons, it doesn't mean you damage twice. You just roll your damage twice and take the better of the 2. So it's got nifty little things like that. There aren't spellcasters per se. There isn't character classes per se. It's basically just how you built your character. Spellcasters use I think they call them spell books, and each spell book is like a spell. And the more of these that you have, the more spells that you can cast, right? So anybody can cast spells, you just need spell books.
All right, so what would you say Cairn does really well?
It is an awesome survivalist game, right? I kind of mentioned that earlier, but like if you want to get that feel where, you're trying to survive, whether it's a zombie apocalypse or, you're in the desert or the wilderness and you have limited resources, one of the things you're trying to do and would come up in Cairn Cairn is like, oh, you did a thing. Now you got a bunch of water. Everyone gets to stock up on water, and then now all of a sudden players are getting excited because they have these cactus pods full of water. Like I've seen players in D&D get really super excited about finding gold and magic items. Same level of excitement because it's the water and the food in this game that keeps you alive so that you can try and succeed and get things done.
So you mentioned, whether it's zombie apocalypse or, a fantasy, does it cross genres?
I would say it's real easy to change it because it's very rules light. It's very simple. There's not a whole lot in there. You would just like reflavor some of the weapons and stuff like that. Say like if you wanted to do science fiction or something along those lines. I feel like this game has a lot of flexibility. It's not very like rules nitty gritty, so it's not going to be good for doing that kind of stuff. But it is a fun, easy way to kind of simulate survival style games without being like super crunchy. That's basically Cairn in a nutshell. Definitely, if you want to check it out, go find Cairn. I'll put a link down in the description so that you can go find it. It was a lot of fun if you're looking for a game that, maybe, somebody didn't show up for the game, your normal game, and you just need to run something fast. There's tons of, random roll charts in there that you can use, and you'd be up and playing within like 10 minutes. So if you have any comments about this topic or any other topic, feel free to leave them down in the description below. Let us know what you think. Share with the Nerdarchy community.
While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all those things that make the YouTube happy.
Remember, we drop regular videos here on the channel, so come on back.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.